One of the strategies we are looking into is Section 8.
Okay.
And that's going to be like new to us. And as we expand, we kind of want to learn, new thing that's not really available.
Can you
here in
explain to
Canada.
us what Section 8 is?
So Section 8 is essentially government and subsidized housing, where the government will pay the rent for the renter.
Tell me the goods about STRs, and that's short-term rentals, by the way. Donalta is the famous STR queen or short-term rental queen.
Yeah.
Is there a different title to that?
No, I think that's it.
Queen is good.
Yeah,
she likes
good,
queen.
yeah.
Okay. She specializes in that. She teaches about short-term rentals. She has a number of properties all over Canada, US, and other countries.
Yeah,
Tell me, okay, maybe let's start there. Tell me a little bit about what you do in the short-term rental world. Tell me a little bit, just like where your portfolio is, so we can get an understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. So I run an international furnished rental business. So it constitutes short-term rentals, which is anything rented for less than 28 days, as well as mid-term rentals, so anything that's rented for 28 days or more, so month to month. And we employ both of those strategies all over the world, so Canada, US, Caribbean, and Mexico. I also operate a boutique hotel in Mexico, in Tulum, and we are constantly expanding and growing, accumulating more properties and adding them to our portfolio, and are really starting to focus in on our midterm rental business. So we're expanding that and getting more vacation properties.
That's exciting. I think when people hear like vacation properties all over the world, like that's just, there's such an excitement about that. Of all the different strategies you just mentioned, like which one do you like the most?
I like, I don't know, there's benefits to all.
Sure.
I like the vacation rental space because, one, I love the hospitality aspect. Two, I like the lifestyle aspect of it. There is more management, so I do run a company that kind of takes care of all of that. We employ a number of strategies. Sometimes we buy the properties, or sometimes we rent them. So, depending on the property, it can be renting out a beachfront villa. We'll rent it from the landlord and then sublease it to our, guests, right? Versus, having to buy a property, especially in, Mexico, Caribbean, because a lot of those countries, there's no mortgages, so you have to pay cash for the property. So that's one of the strategies we use there. And then we're now getting into the US market, where we've been doing a lot of rental arbitrage, which is again renting out the property and either renting it as a midterm rental or short-term rental. But as we're doing this transition and relocation, we are getting into, access to some really exciting lending products. And there's also a lot of creative financing opportunities within the US. Just really exciting products that, make ownership easier. Plus, the median house price is a lot lower in a number of states at like $250,000. So it just makes ownership a lot easier. And being a real estate investor at heart, we bought a lot in the Canadian market, mostly single family properties, and things are just getting a little bit more difficult to scale. So looking to take our investment and scale our business through renting properties, which will allow us to scale it quickly, as well as starting to build out our portfolio of the properties we own. Really looking to build that legacy so we can continue to get larger properties and grow our portfolio.
And in these new properties, would they be long-term tenants, or are you still working with
midterm and short-term tenants. One of the strategies we are looking into is Section 8.
Okay.
And that's going to be like new to us, and as we expand, we kind of want to learn new thing that's not really available.
Can you
here
explain
in
to
Canada.
us what Section 8 is?
So Section 8 is essentially government and subsidized housing, where the government will pay the rent for the renter. There are some additional safety requirements, so it does require that the government come in. They will do an inspection of the property, make sure it meets all the safety requirements, things like having outlets, covers, so that children can't stick things in, stuff like that.
Yes.
So it's not their ask isn't too expensive. It's a few $100s more generally to kind of put in these safety features, and then they will pay you the rents directly. And it's also kind of comes with an insurance in the sense that if there is a problem with the property at the end, they will pay to fix it and return it to its original condition. So it's pretty good that way. It is low income housing, so depending on the neighborhood, can kind of get a little sketchy, especially if you're doing in a lot of multifamily buildings. But just considering the cash flow and the cost of some of these properties, we're seeing potentially like $120,000 for the property, and you can rent it on Section 8 for $1,800. So really good cash flow.
That is good. Yes. Yeah. Low price.
Low
You
prices.
don't hear about prices like that in Canada.
Yeah. And it's a very different environment in terms of some of the landlord-tenant rules. So whereas, kind of what we're seeing a lot now in the U.S. is there's a lot of places that have done a lot of building. So there are large multifamily properties with vacancies. And people still kind of prefer to live in a single-family house, depending on where they're renting. And with the landlord-tenant rules, if they're not paying, it's easier to get them out.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the strategies we're looking at for active income as we kind of grow our multifamily portfolio.
That's exciting. I love that. I've been thinking about this. I told Anton, I wonder if you can help me arbitrage a place in Florida.
Yeah.
Because that would help. At the end of the day, when I was looking at furnished rentals there, obviously Airbnb, the price was so high that it made it accessible. However, we had a realtor show us around, rentals, and we were looking at apartments for $2,500, let's say. Obviously, nothing like what we have here in Canada in our house, but that's more achievable for us to go there and rent a place that's more like you would get on here on an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. And I thought, but we're not planning to be there all year long just yet. So is there an opportunity to arbitrage a place where we can stay? And then when we're not there, we could be short-term, or mid-term renting it.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have some U.S. investing students that are doing just that, and they also do rent to own. So they rented a property in a community that they really like in Kissimmee. And when they're not using it with their family, they rent it out on Airbnb and have been able to pick up more properties, and are also negotiating rent to own with some of the landlords, so they have the option to purchase the property at the end.
Awesome. Yeah, and rent to own seems like a big commitment, but I'm sure it's a good strategy once we know what areas we like, and that's part of the process. It's just going there and seeing where we'd like to be. Awesome. Okay, so we're definitely circling back on that. Tell me a little bit about the beds of short-term and mid-term rentals. What's hard about it? What's challenging? What investors should consider when getting into it?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, a lot of people ask me can you guarantee a return? It's investing. You can't ever guarantee.
I don't know where you can do that.
We can't ever guarantee a return. But when we look at the numbers, I think it's really important to just understand that there's a business aspect that has to be run, and your return is going to depend really on how well you run your business or the quality of your service providers. And it's kind of twofold. People are like, oh, I'll just get an Airbnb and have somebody else run it. Depending on the quality of that service provider, you may not be getting the returns you want, because they also have to be paid. And also, if you choose to run it yourself, it can be very active. So it's really understanding that balance of, what the right service provider for you is, what the right return is, and then figuring out, the right person to manage your property for you, because you can be spending a lot of money and not getting great returns. So I think really understand the numbers that you're getting, and really understand that the team that you have. While you can be hands off, it's still essentially a business. It's a small hospitality business, even if it's just 1 or 2 properties, right? And if you're going to invest your money looking for a return, it's very important to understand, the quality of your staff, right? It's just like hiring.
Yeah.
If people are stealing from the tailor, not cooking the food in your restaurant, you're not going to get a return. So you have to make sure they're doing the things correctly.
They're supposed to.
I see a lot of people sometimes who want to invest, and they pick up an investment, a short-term rental, and they pay to furnish it, but they don't understand the business, and then when something goes wrong, they're not able to course correct. If their cleaner is not performing correctly, they don't know how to replace them or how to find people to send them in. And a lot of people want to do it remotely, which is absolutely doable. I'm a big believer in managing and running remote businesses. I've been doing it for 20 years, but there comes a skill that is required to be able to do it. You are a business owner, so how well your business does depends on your ability to manage.
For sure. I love that. What profile of investor should be looking into STRs, midterm rentals?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think there's two profiles of investors. I think the profile of investor, the first one, is somebody who wants to be hands-on. So they have a flair for hospitality, they have the time, or they're looking to transition out of their full-time role and replace their income with their short-term rental income, and also have the time to understand how the operations work and build and manage that operations side, hire the employees, set all that stuff up, so that eventually they can build it to a point where they don't have to be as hands-on. The other profile is that 100% passive investor. And I say that because the 100% passive investor, if they're looking to, invest and get good returns, it's going to be really important that you find a trusted service provider, right? Somebody who is dynamic, they know where to market, they know how to market that property to get you the best returns, to make sure your investment is profitable, right? And I think that should be done based on like sound judgment and analytics, and choosing somebody with a proven track record.
A lot of people. I do want to go back to the coaching
conversation
too. You said some things that I could relate in so many levels, because on one hand you want to help, and this program would be coaching them, right?
It's a little different.
Okay, tell me how. That's what I want to know.
It's more of like a consulting program, right? So it's just really taking my experience, connecting them with the right people, and then helping them through that process, right? I have really trusted service providers that are going to do 99.9% of the work.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what don't you like about the coaching that you do today, or what's tough about it, I guess?
Yeah, I think what's challenging about it is I find I take on a lot of energy. So if there's fear or if they're anxious, I tend to kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time shaking it. It can take me like a few days to get it off. So it's just figuring out sort of how to like separate my energy and ground my energy and not take on other people's anxieties, I guess. I guess that's it.
Not that this is easy to do, and I think it's impossible to do it all the time. But my thinking is you have to be the dominant energy in the conversation pretty much always. Because when you come in and your energy is like really high, you're up there, you're feeling empowered, you're feeling confident, you have no doubt, that kind of takes over influences, right? Like somebody else's energy. But it's realistic, in my opinion, it's realistic and possible to be like that all the time. So you will end up you're having a bad day, you go into conversation, and all of a sudden, like, oh my God.
Yeah, it has nothing, I don't even think it's tied to having a bad day, or it's me like how I'm feeling per se. Because even, going into a room, there's a ton of people like leading the energy.
Yes.
It's feeling all the feelings of everybody else in the room, right?
Are you an introvert?
I'm an introvert. I can feel people. I don't know.
I understand.
So I can just kind of feel all the energy. I can feel if they're anxious. I can feel if they're like really excited. I can, without them saying it, I can just feel it.
Yes.
And it's just that barrier. And I think especially too when it comes to that mentee like student relationship.
Yes.
I then also want to give them the best results. I want them to overcome and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish. And like for the most part, the conversations end with them feeling a lot better. They're empowered. They can do the things they want to do. Great conversation. And then I walk away with like, that person was really stressed out. Like I have all this like anxiety and stress. There's a transference that happens.
There is.
That happens throughout the process. And I think that's it for me. Is trying to like figure out how to ground myself, or at least like cleanse off the energy and like get my energy back quicker. I need to figure that out.
Okay, keep me posted. Keep me posted with the secrets of that. I just started my own coaching. Like I got my first student. I met with him this week. Yeah, so it's exciting.
Great, now I'm signing up for your coaching. You've been waiting for this for so long. Ask Adriana to coach me like so many times. The program was not
That
open.
is true.
And I'm sure there's a waiting list and I'll have to apply. Hopefully I qualify.
Listen, you're doing coaching. You became a friend. Isn't that much better? Yeah.
It's great, but I would just love
like,
to
no,
do-
but I
yeah,
still
so I
want
want
coaching.
coaching. Yeah. Okay. I'm still gonna apply.
So funny. So, it's interesting. It's been an interesting process to navigate too. I felt like I always wanted to be. So when you were making comments about what it feels like to be in the room and you feel like you're promising, you know, people all these things, and at the end of the day, you're not really that responsible for the results because they have to do the work. There's no other way. I felt like that in the church when I was a pastor because I'm like, God is salvation and like, you know, he's forgiving and bringing the light. And then I remember going into doing the work of a pastor, which was really going to people's homes. They would come to me, they would want to talk, they had problems, I'm praying for them, somebody's sick. And I felt like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by constant, like people come to you when they want to complain at the end of the day, you know, like this is wrong and my mother's sick and so is in the hospital and like, so, you know, and it was so hard. I was just like, I don't know that I can do this. Like, I don't mind going on stage and preaching, but like these one-on-one, like
it's the one-on-one interaction,
being like the light for you, because then I'm praying for them and like I put everything into my
much
prayers.
energy.
I'm like, oh my gosh, please heal this person, right? Like look after them, and like, I'm feeling all the feelings of being in that situation. And then you do it again, you know? So that's interesting. I'm very curious of how you can, because I don't think my coach has that problem. I think he's out, he finishes the call and he's good. He's done. He's like, okay, next.
I think it requires some practice. Definitely requires some practice.
Sure.
But I think also too, different people are built differently. Like
That's true.
not like, you know, there are empaths and there are people who aren't, right? Extroverts and introverts.
Yes.
Some people thrive in other people's energy, irrespective of what that energy is.
True.
Right? And so I just think certain people are built differently, and I'm the type of person I will either change an energy in a room or I'll absorb it. So
Sure.
or I'll do both,
Me
right? There's
too.
like there's always this transference that happens.
I feel like I'm
So-
similar to, I'm an introvert. Like after the Miami Mastermind, I felt like I needed to go on a retreat by myself because
absolutely.
there's just
so much.
so much, and I'm
Pouring
like,
in.
you know, felt so. And just coming back from our vacation, I went with the 2 kids and the 2 moms. We got back and I was just like,
It's interesting. The better everybody else feels, the more draining it is, right? Because you're constantly trying to keep this environment of like, okay, so this person's okay and that person's okay. Okay, so one night we went out to eat. The next night somebody else wants to stay in, and so and so expressed this concern, and you're trying to address.
especially when there are like so many opinions and desires, and like you
It's a
just feel
balancing
called to like serve and make sure everything's comfortable, everyone's comfortable and safe and happy, right? And like, how do I not do that?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get
Because
it.
it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how many coaching students do you have now?
About 6.
Okay. How's that? I was discussing with Anton about the amount of like students I logistically could take on. And I said like, oh, maybe 30. He's like, 30? You mean 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's time intensive.
Yes.
Yeah, it's outside of like the 1 hour calls.
Yes.
You have to think
There's
about
preparation.
Yeah, like there is the prep plus like they're gonna have follow-ups for you. 30 would be a lot. I know some people do 30.
No, he's convinced me. Like maybe I'll keep it to 5. You know.
Yeah, 500. Plus you're like running another business.
I know.
Multiple.
Real estate takes it's still quite a bit of my time. So, and that is something I'm going to keep working on.
Yeah. And now speaking.
Yes, yeah. So events. I'm going to Belize.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh wow.
I
That's
know,
great.
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It was just all decided yesterday. I've been texting with like Alfonso back and forth for 3 days now, and he's like, I'm like, okay,
I'm going.
fine, I will come.
Awesome.
But I'm very excited. So
I need
and
another
nervous,
mastermind. I want Daniel to go in a mastermind. This is, I don't know, it's interesting. Now that we're working together, I'm like trying to like explain to him like, you need to figure out your thing. You know what I mean? Like we can do everything together. We can go on all the masterminds together. We can do all the courses together. Like we can do everything together. But I don't know. It's like we still need to develop individually.
Yes. Yeah.
And then bring those skill sets back to our collective team. And yeah, I think that's important. So I think we need some individual masterminding and development to come up with our own visions. Isn't it like next week?
Yes. I literally bought my tickets yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, I'm coming. I don't know what's going on. If somebody's looking into arbitraging or buying an STR or they have one already, how can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always find me on Instagram or Facebook, Donalta Hall. Hit me up and I'd be happy to help.
Yes, give her a call, give her a DM, send her a DM and an email. You would be my selected choice for any, STRs or arbitrage or anything that we're trying to do. So make sure to reach out to Donalta. We also have a few speaking engagements coming up soon. So you should also check out the website and make sure that you come and see Donalta speaking live about it, and myself as well. We'll be talking about raising capital too, which is a big part of what we do. If you are a real estate investor or if you're an investor of any kind or a business owner, at some point in your life you're going to have to raise capital.
Absolutely.
So it's a really good skill to pick up as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, for being here. Is there anything else that you want to kind of touch on that we haven't today?
Yeah, I just really want to tell everybody that, there's a lot of noise around short-term rentals, but I think it's very important to understand the business and stick to the fundamentals. And before there was Airbnb, there's always been vacation rentals and business travel rentals. So if you're interested in learning more about this business, feel free to reach out to me and I can explain these concepts to you and how to make a smart investment.
Yay, that was beautiful. I love that. There are a lot of questions around STRs and regulations and stuff. So make sure to reach out to Donalta and she can take you through the process of either doing it yourself or using her company as a service provider.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. It's so good to see you.
So